Can you tell I really like this game? Because I do.
Who is that time? Super Mario World! This game is legendary. It was released as a launch title for the SNES on August 13th, 1991 in America, and on November 21st in 1990 in Japan. And holy crap, man, a launch title? You don't really see great games coming out as launch title nowadays. Except for a few exceptions. But certainly not with this launch, if you see what I'm saying. But Super Mario World was, as a big surprise, I'm sure, wonderfully received like all the other Mario games before it. And it became a SNES and Mario classic. I mean, how could you not remember this commercial? It's a classic. I certainly remember it, and I wasn't even born yet.
Introducing the next generation from Nintendo, New Super Mario World, created especially for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. It's a bit more exciting, a bit more challenging, a bit more graphic, a bit more colorful, a bit more realistic, a bit more levels, a bit more secret, a bit more enemies, a bit more friends, a bit more sound, a bit hotter, a bit cooler, a bit weird, a bit more revolutionary, a bit more Mario, a bit more of what you want. It's 16-bit, and it's yours only if you get New Super Nintendo. Now you're playing with power, superpower.
This game is so great that Mario fans are split between calling this and Super Mario Bros. 3 the best game of all time, and the best Mario game ever. But let's see if it deserves to be in competition with Super Mario Bros. 3. Spoiler alert, it does! Now this game was developed by Shigeru Miyamoto, of course, I mean, who else would? But something that I find quite interesting is that originally during Super Mario World's development is that it was hugely based off of Super Mario Bros. 3 in terms of, well, I mean, almost everything. The controls, sprite work, power-ups, and etc. But later in Samus' development, it started to become its own thing and deviate away from Super Mario Bros. 3. But let's get down to the story.
Alright, let's check this out.
Bowser kidnapped speech. Well, gosh diddly dang, Samus, you must have hired all the best writers for your story. But to be honest, I don't really care all too much about the story in the Super Mario Bros. Series. Except for Super Mario Galaxy, because that just hit you right in the heart. The only major thing is that this takes place on Dinosaur Island, and where you can find the best thing that could ever be added to a game. Yoshi! Yoshi has got to be, hands down, the best thing in this game. He can eat almost like anything. Goombas, keys. If Yoshi eats a certain colored Koopa, he will gain a special ability for a short period of time. And it's just amazing. I think the person who best explains or relates my excitement of Yoshi is the great Dan Avidan of Gam Grumps.
Am I right? Yoshi! Yoshi! Dude, I definitely remember that feeling the first time he showed up in this game. I was like, oh! Dinosaur! He's eating the backgrounds!
Yoshi in general is just amazing. I mean, if you get hit while riding Yoshi, you won't get damaged or anything like that. It'll just get thrown off Yoshi. The only bad thing about this, though, is when Yoshi gets hit, he tends to go a little bit crazy and run everywhere. So if you get knocked off your Yoshi while next to a cliff or a bottomless pit, better say your goodbyes. Something I find interesting about Yoshi is that Shigeru Miyamoto actually planned on having Yoshi in the first Super Mario Bros. Game, but he couldn't because of limitations. So, he had a picture of Yoshi on his desk for 5 years, waiting till he could actually use the character in a Mario game. But something that confuses me is that in the game Mario's Missing for the NES, you were able to ride a Yoshi and it works just fine. I mean, that was an educational game, and not a good game, and, but, you know, that'll be a game I'll review later, maybe in a spin-off Mario Marathon. But now it'll just wait. Oh, it'll wait. But I should probably start talking about the gameplay first before I get into anything else. Super Mario World keeps the side-scrolling gameplay, which is a very big good. But while keeping the side-scrolling gameplay, they managed to create the best control ever in a 2D Mario game. In this game, Mario was given a new move. By pressing the B button, Mario can do a spin jump. And by doing a spin jump, you can break certain blocks, jump on enemies to take them out in one hit, and jumping over some projectiles. With the Super Nintendo controller, the layout of the buttons became different, with an addition of 4, Y, X, and the L and R buttons. Now, I love this controller first off. it fits so comfortably in my hands. And second is that whoever came up with putting the sprint on the Y button and having the jump be on the B button, they are an absolute genius. It is such an easy and simple thing to do with my thumb already being over the B button.
Now this wasn't something you were able to do on the NES controller.
Now, not to say the NES controller is terrible, but to be able to run and jump, you would have to turn your thumb a little to the right. Alright, but now let's move on to the power-ups. And do you remember all those cool power-ups in Mario 3? You know, the Tanuki suit, the raccoon suit, and my favorite, the Hammer Brothers suit. Well, you better just throw all those out the window then. Because some just keeps the Fire Flower and the Star Power. But what some adds for taking away all the other power-ups is the Cape Feather. And this thing is amazing. When Mario has the Cape Feather and a very good run-up, and by pressing left and right on the D-pad in rhythm, you can fly for as long as you want. And there's no P-meter like in Mario 3, you could just keep going. But while having the Cape Feather on the ground, you can rapidly press the Y button to spin attack all your foes, and basically become a tornado. And this is probably the best power-up in this game. You can also use this while riding Yoshi. Now, do you see this little empty box up here? This is your extra item box. Sort of like the item slots in Mario 3, except you can't use the power-up on the map. But while on the level, and if you get hit, the item from the item box will drop. I find this really useful and really not useful. You see, when you get hit and the item drops, it doesn't follow you as you move. It drops at the place where you got hit. So if you got hit over a place where you can't go back, well, then you're pretty much just screwed. And jumping back to Yoshi, again, I'm sorry, I can't help it, Yoshi's just that cool. In some level, there are little bushes with fruits on them, and if you happen to be riding a Yoshi, and if he eats a certain amount, Yoshi will poop out a mushroom for you. See, this just makes Yoshi even more awesome.
Yoshi, no wait, Yoshi, hungry.
Oh yeah, that's right. There was a Super Mario World cartoon, and it wasn't good.
Mama Luigi?
Anywho, let's get away from that and move on to the enemies. Most of the enemies return from the last game, except for some strange reason, the Goombas in this game look like walnuts. I'm not gonna go through all the enemies that return, except... What's this? No, Hammer Brothers!
Ha! Finally! Yes! Suck it, Hammer Brothers!
But some of these new enemies are kinda odd, like Charging Chugs. For some reason, they just can't seem to make up their mind on what sport they want to play. Nah, but I'm just kidding here. The real reason they throw different sports balls, I guess? I mean, I know what they're called, that's a football, but, I mean, if you had all the sports, certain balls in one place, would they call sport balls? I don't know. It's because in an interview with Takashi Tezuka, he had mentioned that it may be strange for football players to be throwing baseballs, but it was necessary. I mean, why would you just make an entirely new enemy to throw baseballs? And here we have the enemy Rex. I just really love this enemy, you guys. I mean, just look at him. Hello, my name is Rex. He's so innocent looking. The Koopalings returned in this game, and do you remember how easy they were in the last game? Well, in this game, they didn't even bother trying. Some of them even reuse the same battle strategies, like Larry reuses Iggy's, and with barely any change. I mean, I guess it's nice, because then you get a pretty easy free save. Yeah, that's right, you can finally save your progress in this game. But it's not as simple as hitting pause and going down to save and quit. Oh, no. Instead, you have to earn that save by beating a boss, or by getting to one of the rounded circles on the map, or by finding a secrety secret. And a couple secrety secrets you can find are these button switches. By hitting the switch, and depending on the color, little boxes will appear in places where they might not have before. There's 4 types: red, yellow, green, and a purple pinkish color. And they're found all over the islands. And once again, in like Mario 3, the levels are chosen from an overworld map. But unlike Mario 3, all the worlds are spread out in some... And it's something I actually like a lot more. It feels more like you're going on a grand adventure with all these locations being so close. And I gotta say, I love the little details on the world map. They just make the map look more alive and detailed. I especially like the entrance to the last few levels of the game. Just watch. Isn't that just cool and creepy looking? You have a stone statue of Bowser just rising out of the water. I mean, tell me that is not cool. Okay, that is amazing. Speaking of creepy, I mean, these aren't really creepy, but, you know, it was a nice segue into the talking about boo houses and boos. Get it? Because they're ghosts, you know, and ghosts are usually creepy and spooky, and alright, I'm gonna stop now. Boo houses are a new addition to SM, and these usually tend to be the shorter and easier levels. Except for Coco Ghost House! I'll get back to that later, but most of them have secret shortcuts, which ends the level even faster, and sometimes sends you on a secret route. But let's jump back to Coco Ghost House. Now, I do not know why this one was so difficult for me to beat, but it was, and oh boy, I sure did have a tough time. Trust me, some controllers were thrown. Let's talk about the levels now. These levels are just amazing. They have a great amount of challenge and skill to them, and they just look absolutely beautiful and detailed. From the lush green forests of Yoshi's Island to the rocky plains of Cookie Mountain. It's all just great and amazing and a fun time. Noodle levels are checkpoints, and what they do is if you run into it and you happen to be short Mario, it'll get you powered up to Big Mario, and it'll save your place in the level. So if you die later in the level, instead of starting all the way back from the beginning of the level, you start from the checkpoint. Hence the name Checkpoint. I mean, it's pretty obvious. I mean, it's got the word check and point in it. There's no flagpole at the end of the level anymore. Instead, it's sort of like the checkpoint, but the middle bar keeps moving up and down. And if you jump over the bar, you will get a score. And, what does this mean? If anyone knows, could you leave it down in the comments? Because I just have not the slightest clue. I mean, that is if anyone is gonna comment on my video. Some of them are really interesting. Like this one, in which the ceiling tries to Indiana Jones' Temple of Doom you. Auto-scroll levels return much to my dismay, but they aren't very apparent, which is a good thing. During my total playthrough, the only auto-scroll level I ran into was one, and that's all I can really think of. Remember some of the secrets I had mentioned earlier? Well, another one of them is a special place called Star World, and what this is that it's basically just extra bonus stages, but they aren't all too hard and challenging, but, you know, fun. But once you find Star World, you get teleported there on a star. But then that becomes a nice way to fast travel around the islands. That is, if you found the other ones on the other islands. Because if not, you're basically just blocked off. But once you complete Star Road, you are granted access to Special World. Very original name, I know. This is, once again, more bonus levels, but these ones are actually hard and difficult. Some of these levels tend to have really weird names though, like Gnarly, Way Cool, Tubular, Awesome, Groovy, Mondo, Funky, and my favorite, Outrageous! Because it's the least sounding of an 80s slang word. I mean, where have you ever heard in an 80s movie someone's like, dude, that's outrageous? Never, that's where. But once you're finished with all that, it's time to face Bowser, and his castle is pretty difficult? Difficult to get through. When you enter Bowser's castle, there are some random doors with numbers next to them, and you have to go in them in a certain order. Once you reach Bowser, What is that? Did Bowser get the job at the Mushroom Kingdom Carnival or something? So yeah, instead of fighting Bowser mano-a-mano like in the last couple of games, Bowser flies around and drops these little wind-up enemies, which you can throw upwards back at him. And after you do that, Bowser shows off the Super Mega Awesome SNES graphics and flies towards the screen with little fireballs falling down next to Mario. Then he comes up with Princess Peach climbing out of the copter, screaming for help, and tosses you a mushroom before getting pulled back in.
Okay.
Bowser's second phase is almost the exact same, except for the fact he drops cannonballs! Bowser's final phase is probably the easiest. He sort of just bounces around and tries to squash you. But once you defeat Bowser, he shows off the Super Nintendo's Super Mega Awesome SNES graphics and flies away off the screen, with the princess slowly and gently gliding down to Mario. I gotta say, this was actually a pretty tough Bowser boss fight. But after that, the credits roll with Mario and Peach taking a stroll back to Yoshi's Island. No, the island, not the game. You get a little thank you and credits going through all the enemies in the game. Wait, those were Hammer Brothers? Super Mario World is such a fantastic game. Oh shoot! How could I almost forget? The music! The music in this game is absolutely beautiful. Koji Kondo, you've outdone yourself again. With the SNES new sound chip, the music just sounds more lively and cheerful from the minute you turn on that Super Nintendo or launch your emulator if you're a nerd. The wonderful soundtrack just hits you in the face like a brick. Just listen. It's just so catchy and wonderful.
Shigeru Miyamoto has claimed that 1. This is his favorite Mario game, and 2. That this game is widely unfinished. And that just gets me all excited to see what the creators could add if they just had a little bit more time. I mean, this game just gets me all... It's just so... Sorry. Super Mario World is probably the best game to ever be created. I mean, it's my 3rd favorite Mario game and my 1st favorite 2D Mario game. And I gotta say, in my opinion, this is the best Mario game. I mean, I just had trouble beginning to write the script because of all the things I had to say about it. This game, it means a whole bunch to me. I just love it so much. I mean, this is all I could ever ask for in any Mario game, or any 2D Mario game. This was, as I'm sure many's first SNES game, and the first game they popped into their SNES. This game will always be my 1st favorite 2D Mario game, and this will always be my 3rd favorite Mario game. Or, you know, it might be the 2nd, I don't know. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Bye-bye.
Oh, and I know I said in my Mario 3 review that I would review Super Mario All-Stars, in this video, but, that will actually be a mini video after Yoshi's Island. Alright, good. Things are cleared up. Okay, bye-bye.